So, hey everyone, my name's Dan. I'm the paid social team leader here at Overdrive Digital. So, I'm just going to kind of take you through a few things of what we're seeing on paid social side. But first thing to kind of note is no matter what everyone says, it really is all far from all doom and gloom. We're seeing some really good results. I think people were kind of a little bit worried at the start. Kind of obviously a bit of panic. But now people are kind of looking at things a little bit more pragmatically. They kind of understand the situation a little bit more. So yeah, it's far from all doom and gloom, I think. And because of this, we're kind of seeing some fantastic results with the right strategy and your right ads. So I think if you can get this right, no matter if your budget's big or small, I think you can get some really good results during this time. And kind of personally for me and as a business, we truly believe that those who kind of continue to work with their marketing strategies will come out stronger on the other side. So just keep going. Even if you have to scale back, if you can keep some marketing activity going, I think you're definitely going to see the benefits moving forward. So in terms of what we're seeing now, we're going to present our trends. So this is what we're seeing with our clients. So yeah, in terms of paid social, I'm going to take you through some of the key trends we've seen over the last month, 6 weeks. So these are around like costs, what creative's working, the audiences that are kind of driving that, and lots more. So we're going to kind of jump in here now, and we're going to kind of look at costs first. So really good thing about costs, CPMs are decreasing on Facebook, which is great. So bit context here, like think about it, the big spenders on Facebook are like travel companies and betting companies, and those are two companies that really aren't in the market and can't really advertise at the moment, if at all. So that's opened up a huge amount of inventory on the site, which in turn brings down the cost because there's not as much competition, which is great for people that are able to advertise during this time. So what we're kind of seeing at the moment is CPM levels back to like the holy grail of 2016 and 2017, which is kind of what we think is like the old school way of like, oh, this is amazing. So really good to see. And like what we're seeing across our highest spending accounts on Facebook is a drop in CPM of around 60%, which is absolutely huge. And that's since the beginning of March. What we saw was it kind of peak up at the start of March. So it kind of went up, dropped back down, and then around 14th, 15th of March, where kind of, especially in the UK, we saw a lot more sort of news around coronavirus and things started escalating. I think it was about a week or 10 days before lockdown. The CPM just dropped, people stopped advertising. And since then, it's kind of steadily dropped. It's starting to increase a little bit again. So it's become a little bit more spiky, but it's still way below the average. And one thing we're kind of also seeing is the CPMs rise on weekends. So it looks like a lot more people are sort of advertising in short bursts to get more maybe peak trade over the weekends. But I don't think that's really representative because I think every day at the moment's really strong performer with a lot more people at home. And just one other sort of example, we've got a client, start of March, their CPM was around £8. Just last week, it was just over £3. So it kind of gives you an idea of how much those CPMs really are dropping. And the good thing about that is it means you're getting more bang for your buck. So you're getting a lot more money, you're getting a lot more out of your ads, a lot more performance, a lot more revenue for a lot less cost, which is great, hopefully. But on the flip side, however, CPCs are up on LinkedIn. So here we're seeing CPCs across our clients, they're up nearly 50% versus the start of March. So it's kind of complete opposite to Facebook. But I think what's kind of happening here quite possibly is B2B advertising budgets on Facebook are being shifted away and potentially put into LinkedIn. I think they may be spending more on LinkedIn as it doesn't feel as invasive on this channel as it would on Facebook. Social media usage is up as well. So LinkedIn usage is up. So there's an opportunity there. I think that's driving the demand on LinkedIn, which we're not seeing on Facebook, which is driving up the CPCs. So yeah, all really interesting information. It's like chalk and cheese between Facebook and LinkedIn currently around costs. So real key action from this is, what I'd say is, even if you're not already on Facebook, now's the perfect time to start testing ads on there for both B2C and B2B. If you are on there, it's time to probably reactivate some of your campaigns if you have budget. You're never going to see costs this low again for a while, I don't think. So it's probably the perfect time to sort of maximize opportunity there, I think. On the flip side, what we're actually seeing here is e-commerce is thriving. So apologies for those who are from a B2B background, this bit's more around e-commerce, but not all categories in e-commerce are doing well. So categories we're seeing booming around these 5 on screen, like arts and crafts, is just taking off. It's absolutely booming. And then there's, you know, all these categories are based around things people value the most at the moment. So their home, their skincare routines to make them feel better about themselves, like feel pampered, online subscriptions, things like that. So it's things they can do at home. They can try new hobbies, and it's working really well. I've got women's fashions and accessories there. The key driver of this is actually more around loungewear and casual attire. So it's not necessarily the traditional fashion items you'd expect from women's wear, but they're the ones that are driving the bulk of the volume there at the moment. Kids' books and toys and gym equipment and things like that, we don't really work with them as much, but I've had conversations about how well they're doing. And another key thing we're seeing is gifting, whether that's around birthdays, because you want to gift something to someone because you haven't seen them in a while, maybe you miss them, or just want to cheer someone up. It's a really good sort of element and a category that's working across multiple e-commerce clients at the moment. Whereas if we look at it from categories that have slowed down, so these aren't really top priority for a lot of people at the moment, especially like obviously travel and leisure has had a massive hit for us. Spring summer collections are struggling more to sell because people are inside, they're not necessarily going on holiday. So like things like sunglasses, swimwear, more summery sort of outfits are probably not at the key area where people want to purchase at the moment. And then again, like how I mentioned, women's and accessories was working well. Jewelry and bags in that sort of accessory space, again, isn't really performing well at the moment. So what I kind of recommend out of the back of that is kind of a key action is to, instead of trying to catch all of your, maybe your products and things like that, is just pivot your focus, have a look at your analytics to the key product areas that are working instead of a catch-all approach. If you've got like arts and crafts, for example, if you sell a variety of products, arts and crafts is working really well, but you don't normally focus on that, maybe it's now time to focus on that, because that is an industry that is absolutely booming at the moment. A lot of people are doing knitting, embroidery and things like that. So just something to bear in mind, have a look at your data and kind of drive your results from that. Obviously, if you're not an e-commerce brand and you physically can't advertise at the moment, I'd recommend using this period as like a way to make sure you've got a nailed on strategy for when times do get better, so you can kind of get moving as quickly as possible again. If you've got any projects in the background, whether it's analytics, data, things like that, you need to sort out, this is probably a really good time for you to do that now as well if you're not already doing it. So next thing we've seen is like we've had to really transform our creative and copy to kind of fit with what people want and what they want to see right now. So to give you an example, we're trying to subtly address like the new normal, as people are calling it. So that can be with some subtle imagery, some copy that kind of reflects working from home essentially, or what they might need. So for example, this is one of our arts and crafts clients. So this is a knitting brand. And here you can see we've kind of used UGC imagery. So UGC imagery is working really well, especially those of people at home. So we've kind of got people hugging their wall. It's kind of feel good factor. The image on the left is like a sort of lady just knitting on a sofa at home. So it's kind of, you can relate to it, and they're driving really good results because of it. Another really effective creative we've got going at the moment is this GIF. So essentially this is used for the top funnel. And the really good thing about this is why it's just driving so much revenue at the moment is it just explains to a cold audience what they need to do, how easy it is. They can just get it delivered to the door. It looks like an easy hobby to start, and it's just working really well, and wearing it with pride, like showing, you know, you've made something, here's how you kind of show it off after, and you can show it off via your social media channels. You don't have to see them in person. So creative like that, which is really simple but tells you what to do, is really effective at the moment. And again, sort of, if you haven't got new creative or UGC elements that you can use, just try updating your copy to reflect the time, but use your sort of clear image winners. So it's kind of like a beauty brand we work with, and kind of where you'd like to kind of see this is like we're kind of referencing like video meetings. So they've had a lot of people ask them like, how can they do quick makeup tutorials for their Zoom calls? Because everyone's on Zoom these days. We're on Zoom now. So that sort of messaging is working really well in that sector. Birthday messaging, like this doesn't just have to apply to beauty, but just, you know, if you can't see someone at the moment and you want to gift them a birthday present, that messaging is working really well at the moment. And again here, obviously this is a luxury department store, Liberty London. Again, we're using copy here like bring the spa to home. So the beauty products you'd normally not have, you can kind of treat yourself at home, make you feel good about yourself. And then again, like work from home edits and things like that, referencing the new 9 to 5, just really subtle stuff, but it kind of lends itself and you can relate to it as an audience and as a customer. So copy we're seeing really well here is like anything around delivered to your door works really well. Free delivery messaging, or what we're now seeing is where fulfillment's taking a little bit longer, is really clear sort of messaging around how long that will take, or if extended return periods have been done, then that's really positive messaging as well for people, because they know they can trust to purchase online but not necessarily have to return in the immediate future. Subtle hints, like I've mentioned, to the current situation. If you can, like especially if you're using user-generated content, try and create a bespoke landing page which kind of reflects that imagery as well, so the experience is a bit more seamless. We've seen that work really well because it kind of makes sense in the journey, whereas if you don't normally use UGC, it land on your site and it just looks like a totally different experience. You're probably not likely to get as high a conversion rate. And yeah, promotions at the moment, obviously everyone is looking to get most money, like bang for their buck for their money. If promotions are viable for your business in terms of margins, and I'd suggest using that as well. Even in short periods, they've worked really well. So sort of key actions here is just review your copy, review your creative assets, see what you've got, see what you want to use, test these new ad variations that are more relatable, and kind of work out what's going to work and kind of lend your focus to that moving forward. So yeah, that's kind of the creative and copy side of things. And then in terms of the audiences that obviously drive this, what we're really seeing is like really broad audiences are absolutely killing it on Facebook. So to give you an example, lookalike audiences are kind of a really good way to reach a lot of people that are kind of a colder audience in the top funnel. So for those of you who might not know what lookalike audiences are, they kind of use a data source, whether it's a customer list, your Facebook pixel data, to find people that are kind of similar to your customers. So there's a sliding scale here on the screen of 1 to 10, with 1% being the closest relevance to your customers and 10% is the furthest away. So yeah, I think with this you can do a lot of broad prospecting because it's seeing a lot of really strong results. There's more people online than ever before, especially on social media. They're in the market to try new things. So this is the perfect time to go broader. So what I'd kind of suggest is, instead of trying your usual 1 to 2% lookalikes to try and get the similarity as close as possible, just try expanding to 5 to 10%. The audience is going to be larger. You're opening yourself up to, a lot of new people. And as I mentioned earlier, the risk is lower because the CPMs are so low at the moment. It's the perfect time to try it. If you see it after a week or two, like 10 days, it's not really working, it's not driving the right results for you, just turn it off, maybe dial back to a 3 to 5%. Just try the different scales and see where you get to and what really returns a good return on investment or CPA for you. I think it worked pretty well. And then another thing here is just like broad DPAs. I don't know if any of you know what these are, but if you've tried them in the past. But so DPAs are dynamic product ads. You've probably seen these in your feed if you've been on ASOS, any e-commerce site, travel site, automotive site. So they essentially show you products you've been viewing on site. So they're like really highly relevant, highly targeted. And this is the normal way you'd approach a dynamic product ad sort of campaign. Another thing we're seeing work really well at the moment is there's another section where you can just find people that aren't visitors to your site and find them based on the sort of interaction with products similar to yours. So here, all you do is leave your targeting open, have the country, potentially the demographic targeting. So for example, women aged 25 to 50, and just leave it, exclude like your customers, so you can just find completely new customers, but that's it. Leave it completely broad like that. And you'll be really surprised, one, how well they do, and two, kind of how much Facebook knows about you and what you want to buy. Facebook will probably know what you want to buy before you actually know you want to buy it. So I think, this is a really good one to try if you've got the budget and the scope for it. Even if you run it you need to run this probably for about 2 or 3 weeks. It needs to kind of get going a lot more. But we've seen some really positive results from this so far, which sometimes it hasn't worked. So definitely try that. Key action here is just test those larger lookalikes. Try expanding your broad DPA into your account, and just really see what works essentially. That's kind of me in a nutshell, some quick sort of paid social trends that we're really seeing and how you can really apply that to your sort of campaigns right now. I'll hand over to Nina now, who's going to go through sort of what she's seeing from a paid search perspective. So hopefully we're going to have to switch sharing screen. So hopefully
seamless transition.
Seamless transition, working at home problems, but we will see. Okay, thanks everyone.
Let's have a look. Okay, so I will share my screen. So hopefully everyone sees.
There we go.
Lovely. So yeah, I'm Nina and I work on the PPC team here at Overdrive. Just to give you a little bit of a background, I'll be taking you through some of the trends that I've seen on the PPC side of things, just looking at data from a couple of our B2B and B2C clients. So without further ado, we will have a little dive into costs. So what I'm looking at here is just essentially how CPCs have been performing. So I found that, as Dan discussed, similarly to LinkedIn, Google has become a lot more competitive, particularly during the uptick of when we started to see more of the, trends with COVID-19 picking up in mid-March. So even though B2C industries such as the beauty industry, they're already quite expensive, the CPCs there, we can see an increase starting from mid-March, beginning to level out a little bit into April. And then we've recently been seeing them increasing again. So this is data from one of our beauty B2C clients. So the CPC increasing, it was likely due to the majority of B2C companies taking advantage of consumers now relying on e-commerce to provide them with products. So everyone's at home, and therefore they're wanting their ads to be the most visible while in the landscape of the Google search network. It was at its most unpredictable in the current climate during mid-March. Not many of us really knew what was going on in terms of how paid advertising would play out, but we can see, as I mentioned before, a dip after the initial increase, and then a further increase as the months go along. So as an additional note, our B2C clients have actually seen more success when it comes to keeping on track with the ad spend and revenue generation, most likely due to the customer demand at the moment revolving around more personal products for purchase. The key action here I would suggest is have a look at your bidding. So adjust your bids beyond keywords, look at device bids, bid adjustments, location bid adjustments, and also ad scheduling. So when your ads have been showing at a more increased rate on certain days of the week. So have a look at adjusting your bids according to this data, because it's all currently shifting quite a lot in the current landscape. So the impact on click-through rate is quite interesting. So there was quite a massive impact on some of our B2B clients. As you can see, it dropped substantially near the beginning of March, which is when we saw the current climate begin to shift dramatically. So you see this ongoing pattern of nobody really knew what was going on in mid-March. There is a really tiny uptick around mid to late March, but in comparison to our B2C clients, the spike's not really that substantial, and it completely levels off as we've sort of moved into April. So far we've seen a much less dramatic spike in click-through rates in general with our B2B clients. This is due to a number of factors. So they've either restricted the number of campaigns they've been running, or they provide a service which isn't really relevant during the current climate. For example, some of our clients who are in the travel industry. So people aren't really engaging with ads that aren't adapted to the current climate. So something that you can do to remedy this, if you are a B2B client within an industry you might think has taken a bit of an impact, is sort of planning for the future outside of COVID to help remedy that with ad messaging, etc. But as you can see, it was great for our B2C clients. So the click-through rate began to see an increase in March. It skyrocketed towards April. It's when most of the consumers were under enforced lockdown. So the click-through rate's beginning to stabilize a bit. It's dropping off and leveling out a little bit more near the end of April. So this is data again from one of our B2C beauty clients. So yeah, they've seen a substantial increase. It's likely due to the ad messaging that we've got going on at the moment. So adapted to the current climate, glam from home, mixing it up with your makeup for Zoom calls. So with this coupled with various promotional sales during this period, which have been advertised in ad headlines, has definitely had an impact on the click-through rate. So a key action here would be to test ad copy adapted to the climate. So for example, we've seen some success with another one of our B2C clients with direct-to-door delivery in some of the ad headlines. Also adding site links to COVID-19 info. So whether this is what your deliveries are looking like at the moment in relation to this, or any sort of updates on the company policies that you might have, would definitely sort of drive your click-through rate up, as we've seen it perform with some of our clients. The most interesting thing I've seen actually is device usage across PPC. So desktops have actually taken the lead with our B2C clients. There have been large spikes in desktop activity by conversions in particular during the beginning of March and from mid-March onwards. So this is from one of our B2C clients who specialize in tourist merchandise. So I've seen this overarching trend of computer usage increasing. So this can be directly attributed to more time being spent indoors, where access to a laptop, or rather a desktop that you can't move around, is more readily available. So for example, when we're examining the metrics of this particular B2C client, we can see there's been a substantial increase in the number of conversions on desktops in comparison to the period before. So as you can see, there wasn't much of a spike in usage, but mid-March it just went up and then it continues to increase. So that's definitely a trend that would be good to take advantage of. So the key action here would be to just reevaluate absolutely every single device bid adjustment you have applied to every single campaign. And if you haven't applied any, now is definitely the time to do so. With devices, it's completely changing. We're in an atmosphere where more people are at home. They're not really on the go. No one's as mobile. So mobile phone usage has been dropping quite substantially in favor of desktops. So that's definitely something I would have a look at in relation to device bid adjustments. So I think what everyone really wants to know is how COVID-19 has been directly messing with PPC. So I've actually had a look at some of the search trends on Google search trends, and according to them, there's been a substantial uptick in lockdown related search terms. So for example, there's been a surge in search interest surrounding the following modifiers. So from home, quarantine, lockdown, DIY, etc. So there's a really great opportunity here to add some of these as modifiers to your keywords, just in order to capitalize on the trend and help increase ad exposure and relevance to the current climate. So if it'll help you adapt further to the current landscape of search. So for example, if you're advertising for, say, a beauty company, consider adding keywords such as, makeup at home, makeup from home, quarantine makeup for video calls, etc., to try and increase the searcher ad engagement there. We've also seen some interesting search queries that are pulled through in search query reports during the whole landscape of COVID-19 and its impact on digital advertising. So here we can see data from one of our B2C clients. They sell cosmetic skincare face masks. However, with the search interest in medical and hygiene related face masks being on the rise because of the current climate, we've seen quite a few irrelevant search queries being triggered by the mask text in product descriptions in our shopping campaigns, for example. So this is definitely something to pay attention to. Make sure you keep on top of your search query reports, see what's spending the most and whether it's relevant or not to your brand and the products that you stock, because quite a few of them have been triggered because people are searching for a completely different product in mind. And for example, some shopping ads from another one of our B2C clients actually have also been disapproved due to Google believing that they are capitalizing on sensitive events. So in that instance, our client was actually advertising sleeping eye masks, and the Google Merchant Center disapproved the ads for the very reason they believe the client was actually capitalizing on COVID-19. So the key action here would definitely be to either pause or reevaluate any ads or keywords or shopping products bringing in irrelevant traffic, and also adding the relevant modifiers to current keywords as sort of a combatant. Make sure that you've got that traffic increasing where you decrease it as necessary. Then I've also looked at some overarching positives versus negatives in the current landscape. So we've noticed, particularly with our client base, that B2B clients have fluctuated the most in terms of performance. So here I'm looking at the number of conversions and our click-through rate. So there have been some negative impacts on our B2B clients in the tech and travel industry, for example. Some accounts are paused, ads have not been running throughout this period for obvious reasons. As you can see in the graph, the click-through rate and conversions, they spiked in mid-March. As expected, we've seen that as a trend across all industries with all clients, but we've seen a decline in performance instead of a continued increase, as we've seen with our B2C clients. So quite a few of them are steering away from having any ad messaging to encourage actions against current government guidelines. For example, the B2B companies are facing the demand for a particular business service and having this not really being relevant to apply because the majority of businesses are now operating from home at this time. However, business is booming for B2Cs. In general, e-commerce B2C performance has seen an overall increase in comparison to the last period. So click-through rate and conversions just quite simply skyrocketed from mid-March, as you can see. Again, this is our client in B2C industry, the beauty industry. So it's, as Dan mentioned previously, as well as social, it's e-commerce is quite simply thriving in current conditions. This is due to a combination of, as I mentioned before, ad messaging being adapted to the climate, and also just because the ease of access of obtaining a lot of the items of purchase that we are advertising. So in general, e-commerce companies worldwide have seen a significant increase in traffic and revenue due to most purchasing behavior occurring within a household. And this is according to multiple affiliate marketing sources, and they're reporting real-time statistics. So although this fluctuates on the daily, we've seen just a continual pattern of increased performance across revenue generation, conversions, and also click-through rate. And that's sort of everything from the search side.
Thank you. Cool. Thanks, Nina and Dan. So we've already got a few kind of questions coming in. Like if anyone else wants to ask a question, please drop it in the QA in the chat. We'll start going through them. But yes, please do drop them in. So one question that just came in was about whether we're seeing a rise in high-end retail as well, or not so much because of the price point.
Yeah, I'll take this one because so we've got a few high-end clients. They're struggling with the really higher, we're talking massive price ones here, like £500 plus. Their average order values have slightly come down, but we are still seeing strong ROAS performance and probably lower CPAs than we were actually seeing at the beginning of March. I think it's just identifying the categories or the products that are converting at a certain price point and focusing on them. It might be that your products that were a higher value, so you're driving a higher ROAS, just might not work at the current period. So if you're seeing the data suggest it's not working, try focusing on products that essentially are working is what I'd say. But yeah, it is working. People are spending their money on things they do want. So
yeah, it's so spiky, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's so spiky. Another question around finance as a category. I mean, we don't have any. I guess we don't really have any clients in the finance space. But what's your feelings on finance as a category at the moment? Because I've heard it's performing very well.
Yeah, I'm still receiving ads just as obviously not looking into it from the data point of view, but just in general, they're still pushing ads on LinkedIn and Facebook. I'm seeing stuff from Monzo, Revolut, things like that. People like NatWest and things are pushing stuff out about content around how you can they're there to assist you at the moment. So instead of trying to get something out of you, they're trying to help and get that goodwill. But I think it's, from what I've heard and conversations I've had, it's still doing okay. I think click-through rates have slightly dropped, but it's probably because it's things like applying for new credit cards and signing up for a new account probably aren't highest priority, but maybe use your focus to add value adds for thinking if they don't need your service necessarily now, they might want it in 2-3 months. So how can you engage them now and then get them
perfect.
I think.
Nina, one for you actually. So we've had a question from a final year fashion student.
Mm-hmm.
And her question is, do you feel that fashion retailers are aligning their online marketing comms well to the current solution? How would you recommend that they improve this? What's your opinion on that?
Their comms in terms of ad messaging?
Let's go with ad messaging, yeah.
With ad messaging, I feel there's definitely been a shift in it. So for example, we don't currently have any active clients who are in the fashion or retail industry, but if I take our beauty client, for example, we do have ad messaging that is directly adapted to the demographic that it's aimed at. So we've had a lot of success there in terms of the ad messaging, utilizing, colloquialisms, things that we know for a fact engage with the audience that we are targeting. Personally, what I've seen across the search network is I feel the ad messaging has definitely, I've seen it morph over the years. So for example, with clothing brands such as Pretty Little Thing, Boohoo, ASOS, it is, in terms of the ad messaging, a lot more, it is adapted more fluidly to what we've actually been seeing in terms of, the rigid structure of headline, what you're getting, sale. So they're definitely trying to incorporate a lot more language that is more relevant to their demographic.
Yeah, we had a comment here from Sam who's saying that she's working with a fashion client at the moment, and they have very much tailored the content to being at home, comfort, natural fabrics, etc. And I think generally that is, as a tactic, really worth investing your time in right now.
With that, another one on the sort of fashion element is the brands I'm seeing not aligning with that sort of messaging, I'm really turned off.
Yeah,
Like not giving the upfront information on delivery, just kind of what they're just generally doing in the situation.
Yeah.
And kind of the whole experience. If it doesn't look like they've made not an effort, but like doesn't look like it's trying to appeal to me now, I'm not as kind of engaged with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think people just want clarity as well, don't they?
Oh, exactly.
Cool. No, thanks, guys. So, question on the paid social side. So, what are you seeing is from Lucy. Hey, Lucy, how are you? Thanks for joining. So, what are you seeing are the benefits or differences between lookalikes and, I guess, larger, broader interest audiences at the moment? Has it changed?
I'd say the interest audiences, like historically, we have like a core amount with various clients that, instead of in terms of conversions, work really well, but our lower sort of end of the CPA or ROAS spectre are actually performing quite well now. So I think interest-based targeting is definitely working. I think just those people are more in line to buy if they're a lot more colder. Lookalikes, historically for us, have always done quite well, but the larger ones, which sometimes we find with the larger lookalikes, they go through peaks and troughs of seasonality, whereas now they seem to be kind of working really well. And it's kind of like what we'd see on Black Friday in Q4, like the larger lookalikes are killing it, like I mentioned. Another thing I've seen, we haven't tried this out yet, but from what I've seen is quite a lot of people are stacking stuff on top of each other just to go really broad. So what I mean by stacking is they'll stack up their purchase lookalike, add to cart lookalike, view content lookalikes all in one, like say it's a 5% one, all in one ad set instead of like having them all out separately, and maybe layering in then some interest as well. So they're really kind of just stacking a load of stuff in. And apparently for some industries that's working really well. We haven't tried it yet, but I want to.
Yeah, cool. Excellent stuff. Nina, favorite channel for generating leads?
Ooh, lead generation.
That's
my
a
favorite.
big question.
Do you know what? LinkedIn
LinkedIn
is
LinkedIn too.
We've seen, with one of our clients actually, they specialize in product, almost kind of they certify products. So we've seen, based on our results in LinkedIn, we don't do as well in Google as we do on LinkedIn, due to the fact that you can get more segmented audiences. You already have someone there with the interest in what you are advertising, whereas with Google, especially if you have more of a niche product you are trying to advertise, or a service there, it's almost a gamble in a way compared to LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I think, well, LinkedIn's quality of lead on the back end's a lot better once it's come into your pipeline, whereas you might get a lot more leads, say, from Facebook, but they might never turn into a sales opportunity. So yeah, I'd say LinkedIn.
Yeah,
100% across the
for
board.
sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, I think probably we'll go for one more. So this is a big one. So this is from someone who's working for a fintech business. The Facebook ads revenue is dropping due to lenders paying less for each client. Is the way to double up the number of applicants through Facebook without having to increase the budget? So I guess this is about the fastest way to decrease CPA conversion rates. Please jump in with a comment if I haven't understood that question properly. But if you were tasked with having to dramatically reduce CPA quickly, first port of call. I mean, it's a big one.
I think my first port of call is maybe focusing the people lower down the funnel that might be, especially around CPA, that might be a bit more closer to making a decision potentially. I guess in fintech, a lot of it's about customer acquisition, obviously. So but I think if you're instead of trying to nurse them through that funnel stage, maybe focusing on retargeting and maybe prospects that haven't converted first to drive that down.
Also, I guess tightening the bolts at all, like the landing page and conversion rates in general, and
I think as well, CPMs are quite low at the moment. Obviously, in retargeting, they're generally a little more higher on average, and lower down the funnel. But it could be an element there that can help you kind of bring down that CPA as well, hopefully. But yeah, we don't work with too many fintech companies at the moment. I'd like to, but yeah, that'd be my
hint.
It's a fascinating industry, I think.
Yeah,
for sure.
No, great question there. So, look, thanks everybody for dropping in on this. If you've got any questions that you haven't got to, or if you want to ask something and it just comes to mind later, do drop us a line, give us a follow on social, and we'll be sending around a bit of a follow-up with the recording in the next couple of days. But yeah, thanks so much for joining. Hope it's useful. Happy birthday, Joanna, by the way. I hope it's been a fun birthday afternoon for you. All right. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.